Hi everybody, thanks for dialing in. We're just going to start the webinar now. Just to make sure you're in the right place, the title for the webinar is What Does It Take to Have a More Personalized Relationship with Your Customers? And we're going to be introducing the concept of the next generation customer data management platform. So first off, just to give you a quick agenda. So my name's Andy Walker, I'm head of sales at Innometrics. I'm going to give you just a few minutes on Innometrics, the company. I realize we're a new company, some of you may not have heard of us. Out of interest as well, you might like to know, on the call we have about 50% customers and 50% non-customers, so it's a great mix. So I'll give you a short background about Innometrics, and then we have the main event, Mike Gualtieri from Forrester. Mike's going to be taking us through the future of customer data management. So he's going to look at some of the new demands that customers are placing on us as companies, and then look at some of the trends in big data. And then I think most importantly, he's also going to look at what are the capabilities that you need as companies in order to serve those new customer demands. And after about half an hour with Mike, I'll then introduce Gordon Savage, Chief Operations Officer from Innometrics. Gordon's going to go through Profile Cloud, which is our platform. It's not going to be a big product demo in any way, it's just a few minutes to overview how Profile Cloud fits in with this concept of customer data management. And then at the end we will have time for questions. On that note, just to let you know, in the GoToWebinar control panel, probably on the right hand side of your screen at the moment, you can type questions in there. Questions will come up to myself and I'll then ask those questions at the end, but please feel free to write questions in whenever you want to. Just to let you know as well, you're currently all in listening mode, so you are muted in case you're worried about any background noise. And we are recording the session as well, so we will send out the recording later on. Okay, so just to give everyone a bit of background about Innometrics. We were started in 2010, originally set up as a consulting company to help large organizations in the Nordics get more from their investment in online. But what we found very quickly was that all of the problems that these customers had all related back to data. So whatever industry the customer was in, a lot of the problems that they had and a lot of the problems that they were working with us as a consulting organization about were related to data. So how they collect data about their customers, how they analyze the data, and then how they share that data in the organization and take action from it. So as a result, we started to develop our software, and we formally released the software in August of 2012. It was actually launched to some early customers before then. So we've been developing it for 3 years now. We've got offices in Stockholm, which is where we're headquartered. I'm actually based in London, and we have a larger US office coming in 2014. We've got about 30 employees, and currently we've got 31 clients. Hopefully it's going to be about 35 by the end of the year. And those clients are spread across all different industries. So we have some of the top banks in the Nordics, top telecoms companies. We also work a lot with travel, media, retail. It's very important to us that we can work with all industries. We believe that managing data, managing customer data, is something that's important for every industry. So just to give you a bit of information about Profile Cloud, which is our software, we're all about making customer data actionable. So what we do, just to explain it very simply, is we create one profile for every customer and prospect. And we do that by combining data together from different silos that you have within the organization. Those could be your own internal systems with customer information, or they could be other marketing platforms. And once we've created those profiles, we then enrich them. We enrich it with online behavior, applying predictive capabilities, any other information that we can bring together to really enrich the profiles that we create. And once we've done that, we then allow you to share those profiles with any other marketing technology you're using and any other internal system that you're working with as well. Gordon will go into a little bit more depth, but I wanted as well to say, you might well ask, well, why have we set up this webinar? Well, a lot of the customers that we work with, they often ask us this question. They already have CRM, they already have web analytics, they may also be doing things with data science, maybe they have a large organization doing BI. Perhaps you're also working with some of the newer content management systems or e-commerce platforms that have this concept of customer data. And often we get asked, well, how is customer data management as a concept different Why is it different from CRM? Why is it different from analytics? And why is it going to be a big thing? Why is customer data management something that I need to worry about and look at in the future? And at this point in time, we were also having conversations with Mike from Forrester, and Mike has started this new research into the area called customer data management. So we really wanted to invite Mike on the call to explain a little bit around this. So how is customer data management different, and why is it going to be a big thing? So with that, I'd like to pass over to Mike Gualtieri, Principal Analyst from Forrester. Over to you, Mike.
Thanks, Andy. I'll just get my screen up here. Can you see my slides? Andy, can you see the slides?
Yeah, we can see the slides. Thanks, Mike.
All right, very good. All right, well, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining the webinar. My name is Mike Gualtieri, Principal Analyst at Forrester, and I cover customer data management and related topics, big data, advanced and predictive analytics. And I always like to start these things out with an inspiring data point. And maybe this is more inspiring to us, the people who care about customer data management, you on the phone and us here delivering the webinar. When we ask customers, what new customer expectations does your organization face? Number one, to be treated as individuals. Now, of course, I mean, but this kind of, that just means that they don't want to be treated as one of the masses. And I net this trend out. I just call it royalty. We could also call it celebrity. But essentially, customers increasingly want to be treated as individuals and have individual experiences. And whether that's the products that they're using, whether it's the marketing that's more relevant to them, royalty is the big trend that's driving this renewed interest in the future of customer data management. And so that's our first trend, and that's the inspiring trend behind customer data management. Every single customer has some set of brand relationships, dozens of brand relationships, in fact, and each one of those brands wants to deliver some sort of experience that will keep these customers loyal. The thing is that these experiences have to be increasingly designed for that individual, because everyone has different brand relationships, and even within that brand, they have different needs and different desires. So one of the things that's inspiring customer data management is this need to understand more about the customers. Let's look at sort of a sci-fi customer experience. I don't know if you're familiar with the Nike Fuel Band, but that's something you wear on your wrist, and it counts steps, and it has data, it counts data, steps, calories, and it uploads to the Nike website. Well, imagine if Melissa here then walked into a chain restaurant, the Cheesecake Factory. They handed her a tablet. The tablet was the menu. That menu was customized to what she liked in her prior visits, but that menu also accessed Nike's API, their application programming interface, downloaded her exercise data for that day, and then also displayed the Kahlua cheesecake, which she liked, and because she ran 6 miles, she can order that if she wants to. The idea is that that's extremely individual, but it took a lot of data to do that, and it took especially a lot of data to personalize it for Melissa, because Melissa is not a persona. Melissa is not one of 6 personas. Melissa is one of 1 million customers. And so that's what's motivating customer data management, is understanding more about the individual. So when we look at just a quick definition, customer data management is the people, process, technology, and architectures that collect, analyze, organize, and share customer data to support all business functions. Now that's an important point, because when many organizations think of customer data management, they all have a different view, right? Customer data management is about marketing. Customer data management is about customer service. Customer data management is about finance, billing and that sort of thing. the reality is that customer data management is relevant across all business functions. But part of the problem is that customer data management exists also in all of those functions, and it's very, very siloed. So one of the key trends for customer data management, and indeed the next-gen customer data management, is these silos have to be broken down, because you're never going to get a complete view of the customer to deliver those type of individualized experiences without doing that. You already have a lot of data. You know, it's locked up in web analytics. It's locked up in ERP systems, e-commerce, emails, tweets, social media. The problem is it's all over the place. There's no single view. And even when people think there's a single view, like if you ask an organization, oh yeah, we have a single view. It's in our CRM system. Oh, does that CRM system also include, you know, the click path that client took on your e-commerce website or your website? Oh, no, it doesn't. Well, then, no, it doesn't have a single view in CRM. You may ask the e-commerce people, do you have a single view? Yes, we do. But it's from their perspective, from an e-commerce. Maybe they don't have any of the retail store information for a large company. So a lot of data silos, and one of the key things to getting to understand the customers to break those silos down. So these are just a quick list of the problems. The data silos, they don't give you that complete visibility. There's a lot more data. All right, we'll get into big data a little bit later. But the big data strains the ability of legacy technologies to store, process, and access all of that customer data. Advanced analytics, predictive analytics, those are often lacking. And by the way, they require a lot of data to be successful. Predictive models thrive on more and more data. A lot of contextual data, just like the example I gave about Melissa, contextual data in the field collected from sensors or wearable technologies. I mean, that's a little more futuristic, but that can enrich the customer data. And then creating these experiences in real time, even a real-time marketing experience, requires the ability to access all of this data quickly in real time. So these are sort of the problems that we face. Now, the second trend I want to talk to you about is big data. And what's exciting about big data is, yes, we have all those silos, but we still have a lot of data. The data is there. And from a customer data management standpoint, big data just means that we have an increasing amount of customer data. That's the exciting part of it. The challenge is that we need to get it all together. We need to consolidate it and make it accessible to those who need it. Now, when you think about customer data, there's the structured text. Like when you hear about big data, you might hear structured and unstructured. Well, we add a third category, binary. But it's structured text, right? This is the type of data that's in a database, your transaction, maybe the multiple profiles, the relational data in your CRM system. There's also unstructured data, tweets, blog comments, Facebook statuses, emails, and finally there's binary. Now, your use cases may not use binary now. It may not use camera data, for example, but there are some large retailers that in fact are using cameras placed in stores for presence awareness to look at groupings of customers. So the point is that there's a lot of different data categories here. That's what big data is about when it comes to customer data management. Now, when we say big data, you don't have to get obsessed with petabytes of data, Google-sized data, because big data just means all of your data. And when we survey firms, they're only analyzing 12% of the data they have. All right, so when you start to think about, well, we don't have petabytes of data, it doesn't matter. If you have a few terabytes, whatever amount of data you have, firms are only analyzing and using about 12% of it. So there's already a big opportunity to analyze it. Why are they only analyzing 12%? they have trouble accessing it and unlocking it. And that gets back to our discussion of breaking down the silos. Now, when we think of what we can use this big data for, it's to understand the customers. And it goes back to that initial data point that says firms want to increasingly treat their customers as individuals. Well, to do that, you have to know all of the rudimentary stuff, past orders, interactions, tweets. But you may also need to know family relationships, friends, their location path. You might be able to enrich it with predictive analytics to predict their mood, their aspirations, what they do with competitive firms, what devices they use, social data. So increasingly, you need all this information about the customer. So this is the goal of customer data management. Now, okay, so you're only using 12% of your data, and you may be enriching it with some social media, but you probably have a social media silo. So here's just an example of how you can enrich data. There was I think a story out a couple of weeks ago about statins, which is a blood thinning medication. So you can look at the Twitter stream and find a lot of interesting information about this. So let's talk about, here's a quiz. What percentage of online adults use social networking sites? Well, as of May 1st, 2013, and this is U.S. data, 72% of adults are using social networking sites. So that's another interesting source of data. So in addition to all of the data you have, there's a lot of social media that you can enrich it with. But you need a platform, you need a customer data management platform to put not only your transaction, your additional information, but sentiment analysis information like this. Here's an example of what you could do with that information if you had it. Here's how U.S. online youth interact with companies. 42% learn about the latest products. 48% look at the content of companies. You can see the rest there. And youth expect firms to engage them. When we did these surveys of U.S. online youth, 48% expect companies to listen to what they're saying online, to interact with them. How are you going to interact with them? You need to understand them more, and it's not just about the social media silo. This is just one other source that can enrich that. And it's not just for young people or the youth. You can see here this breakdown of use of social networking by age, and you can see certainly the youth lead, but the rest of the age groups are fast followers. So when you think about your customer data management, think not only about your existing sources, but how can you bring in some of these external sources? And this is just one example of that. For example, bringing that data in and combining it with existing customer data, you can listen to those customers, you can understand your share of voice and the efficacy and side effects of your product as they're talking about it. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do just by enriching it with social media data. So we've got all this big data, okay, and certainly there's a benefit to bringing it all together. But the next big trend in customer data management is data science. And data science requires more customer data. And what are the type of things you can do, and what does data science mean? Well, it means two things. You use advanced analytics to find non-obvious knowledge, okay, knowledge that you just can't see from a report, and also to create predictive models, to predict behavior's response, to predict customers' behavior. And when we say predict, we're always talking about probabilities. So that brings us to customer data and what you can do with it. In the United States, there's a large department store called Target, right? And many of you may already know the story, how Target started sending coupons to one of their customers' homes to this girl's father. And it was all about buying baby products. Target predicted that she was pregnant. The problem is that that she was 16 and her father didn't know. So he went to the store and said, why am I getting all this sort of stuff? And it turns out that through other purchases she had made, they had predicted. And of course that's a very valuable piece of information because they can lock in, they can attempt to lock in that customer for a very long buying cycle with baby. Movie recommendation sites like Netflix. You might not think of that as customer data management, but 60% of the movie views from a site like Netflix come from a recommendation engine, which is powered by customer data. It's not just all these people watch this movie. That's how these unsophisticated recommendation engines started, but now they're getting even more personal down to you, not just aggregates. And again, that's what data science can do, but you need to get all the customer data to do it. And, excuse me, a UK supermarket can predict the exact date customers will return and what they will spend within $10. I converted that to US dollars. And they can't do this for all of their customers. They can only do it for 19% of their customers. Still enormously valuable. And they were able to do that by bringing together all the different sources which predictive models really need. And you might not think of your business as a fraud detection business, but it is. Certain customers can try to game the system or the e-commerce site, or even if it's a B2B business. So you can also understand your customers to make sure they're not fleecing you as well. So there's all kinds of uses for data science and customer data. And there's also the loyalty. There's the competitiveness. So in the US, there's a large chain of home improvement stores called Home Depot. And many people at home who shop at Home Depot have the experience on a Saturday of going there multiple times, right? They want to fix the toilet. They buy some sort of a washer. Whoops, they don't have a wrench. So they go back and they make multiple trips to the store on the same day. Well, using a combination of all that customer data, all the trips, the transactions, the individuals, and other types of advanced analytics, Home Depot, if they wanted to, could, at the self-checkout kiosk, they could say, oh, they could predict in context that this person's fixing a toilet. And on that self-checkout kiosk, they could say, hey, do you have this wrench? They could give them reminders. And that customer might be very grateful because that one trip to Home Depot instead of 3, 4, or 5 trips saved them an enormous amount of time. And obviously, if Home Depot did this, their competitor, Lowe's, would have to do it right away because this is an innovative new way of doing business. So when you think about customer data management, you think about all of the new technologies and capabilities, you need big data. And big data is all your data about the customer. It's not just CRM. It's not just web analytics. It's just not just marketing systems. It's not just transactional. You've got to get it all together. The plus means you have to enrich it. Now, I gave a social media example about how you can enrich the customer data, but you can also enrich it from mobile apps, geolocation data. There's many other ways of doing this. Once you have all that customer profile and customer interaction data together, you've now just enabled data science. You've enabled the type of predictive analytics and the examples I gave, like Target predicting the girl was pregnant, or Home Depot predicting the repair that a certain customer was going to undertake. You also need real-time insights. So you need a platform that lets your other systems and the people who need this data access it in real time. Okay, I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about emailing someone saying, can you send me that spreadsheet of that marketing data? I'm talking about a platform where this all comes together and it's accessible instantly by those who need it. And then finally, you've got to integrate this with your digital experience and marketing channels. All right, and that's the part where you're actually using this data, whether it's for marketing, whether it's to enable customer experiences, whether it's used in customer service, R&D, all the functions of the business. So when we sort of net out all of these trends that are shaping the future of customer management, the first one is people want to be treated like royalty. So that is the inspiration behind what customer data management platforms have to deliver. And to deliver that, they need big data. And that means that they need a platform that will break down these silos and put it all together. CRM is not that. Web analytics is not that. Marketing systems are not that. ERP systems are not that. They are this, and even data warehouses, because data warehouses often become silos in themselves. So you got to bring it all together. And then the third trend is that once you have that profile information and interaction information all together in the same place, whoa, then you can get creative. Then you can get interesting. Then you can start creating these very individualized experiences and interactions with your customer. That's when you can start treating them like royalty. So when you think of your customer data management capability, it is a true view of each customer, and it's a complete view. Okay? You may have a true view of your customer's interactions on an e-commerce site. You may have a true view of your customer's web clicks, but you probably don't have a complete view. So bringing both of these together is the capability that you need. So ultimately, customer data enables everything else that you're going to do with the customer. It's the ultimate source of innovation. It's the fuel of innovation, if you will, and you have to capture and store all of the customer data, analyze it, be able to share it, and then constantly integrate new data sources, right? Because we know that they're popping up all the time. I mean, in a large company, you could have a portfolio of hundreds of different applications, and many of them, I'd say even a majority of them, based upon our research, have some impact or some piece of unique customer data. So with that, I thank you, and I'll hand it over to you, Gordon.
Thanks, Mike. And I'll just get my screen up here. Now, can everyone see that? The control question to Andy or to...
That's great, Gordon.
Thank you very much. Right, so I'll just start off giving a quick introduction to Innometrics Profile Cloud. Introducing myself, my name is Gordon Savage and I'm CEO Innometrics. I've been an online marketeer for 13 plus years and counting, and I've lived through all the challenges that Mike has mentioned for various global brands as an online marketeer. And the obvious challenge in becoming royalty is solving the mixed messaging that we see from different sources, and it might be from web behavior that's been touched upon, online app, mobile, or marketing channels, which email, display, social. But even if we sort these two areas out and can combine them together, we still not have got the complete view of the customer. We might need that data warehouse data or CRM or call center specific data to complete the jigsaw puzzle. So this is our data management challenge, shall we say, and Mike's already spoken about that. At Innometrics, we want to put the customer at the heart of what we do. We want to create sets of unique profiles, and I'll show you a couple of cases in a minute. But essentially, we're talking about, a prospect profile group or a customer profile group. And you start somewhere, obviously, in terms of collecting web behavior first and creating your profiles from that. And then after that, you want to enrich And in this context, it wants to be a real-time enrichment where you can complete your 360-degree view of your profile. So, looking at prospects and customers, why is this separation important? And you listening, you all know this already, I suppose, but quite often we don't know who our visitors are when they come to the website. We want to know right there and then what they're looking for, what they've bought previously, what they're interested in. And so, you know, if we knew if they were a customer or not and what they were wanting to buy, that would help us a lot. So we want to create these prospect customer profile sets, and we want to enrich them with all the data that we can enrich them with. So on the left, we've got a prospect, and that is based on online behavior, based on cross-device and channel. Don't have any social or CRM in this profile, but we're interested in moving them up the buying process from cold prospect to hot prospect based on what product they're interested in. And we want to make this consistent across all devices and channels. For the customer, in this context, we might have online data which has to be enriched with CRM. So knowing what products they've bought before will enable us to have a cross-offer in a real-time messaging, which we can obviously pass on to different outbound marketing systems or deal with on site in terms of personalization. So what does this mean to Innometrics and the Profile Cloud? Well, we have our prospect to the left in our Profile Cloud and the customer to the right there. And essentially what we've done is that both sets of data sets here that we have, they're sharing these profiles with different systems. So the prospect sending data down to analytics, but at the same time also sending data to display and CMS for personalization. And the customer profile at the same time might be also enriching analytics, but having a cross-offer and a personalization which may be on-site in terms of online marketing, logged-in pages, but also display and even email. You can also throw in customer support there if you want to connect to these systems. The important point is that you determine your activation systems, and it's essentially a complement to the systems you already have. Your choice. So, to summarize, you have the flexibility to develop whatever profile sets you need to support your strategy. And then we've talked about that obviously with prospect customer profile groups, but we're also talking at a one-to-one level. And you've got the choice of your different marketing sales service systems that exist in your current platforms. And I think we've just listed some of them here in terms of CMS systems, Sitecore, Episerver, analytics, you know, the analytics tools that you use, Site Catalyst, GA or WebTrends. But also that stretches to display or email in terms of systems there, CRM, whatever system that you have, Siebel, Salesforce are a couple that crop up quite often, and even customer care chats, surveys that could be there as well in that context. But the Innometrics integration layer allows you to deal with your own data management and put that into the aspect of not creating any operational stress on your existing processes. You control the marketing plan. You determine who you interact with, when, what triggers, and what system you want to send to. Finally, all the time that you're doing this, every click and behavior you're storing, that's value, and that's profile knowledge. So that's it from me, and I think Andy and Mike, you're probably going to come in at this point, and any questions that we have will be going through you, Andy.
Brilliant, thanks.
I'll go on mute until anything crops up.
Fantastic. Okay. So we've had a few questions come in, but if anyone else has other questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box there. think I'll just go ahead with one here, Mike, for you. What's the response been to customer data management from other companies that you speak to? Maybe other companies in the States or in Europe?
Sure, yeah. So, at Forrester, we've created what we call a playbook. It's a whole stream of research dedicated to customer data management, and that was motivated by client interest. So, the largest global companies in the world are all trying to achieve the next level in customer data management. We have lots of data on this, and maybe I overemphasize the silos, but not really. When we asked what most companies' challenges are, it's integrating data from multiple sources, and they really seem to understand what are some of the things they can do if they start getting all of this data together. So, and I wouldn't say that it's really focused on any one particular vertical, too. It's horizontal across all industries. There's just been a rise in general in a focuses on a company's customer loyalty, on their competitiveness, compared to, say, a few years ago now, when the global recession hit, and it was more about doing more with less. Now there's a return to a focus on customer relationships.
Okay, great. We've just got one question here. Actually, this is a question for Gordon, if that's okay. Gordon, how do you connect the different customer profiles from different silos? Good question.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I think I had some silos mentioned there in terms of online silos, and essentially we're just picking the customer-specific information up directly from online, an app, mobile, and that's passing through our layer down to Profile Cloud. But we might also have data stored in CRM systems, which requires an API, and we have a real-time API which we connect to, and we pull up data from these offline sources. So I think, quite simple in that context, that all the online data we get immediately, and offline data either we can pull in on a real-time perspective, or we have a, shall we say, a planned upload or synchronization of it.
Thanks, Gordon. I think one thing probably good to add, I don't know if this is what the question is directed at, but obviously all these systems will have their own keys, their own usernames. So we actually do all of that key matching or username matching or cookie matching within the platform. So whatever that ID is, we actually match that up within Profile Cloud. So I hope that answered your question. Mike, another one for you. This is something we get a lot from customers, actually. It's a good question. So I work a lot with my IT department. How have other companies you speak to managed customer data between IT and marketing? Do they work closely together? So I guess the question is around, how to manage this between the IT and marketing departments. Have you got any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, the IT department has a lot of responsibility for the large portfolio of applications that have all of the data. And what we've seen is the motivation for integrating that data in the last several years has been business intelligence, so reporting. And that's where, that's motivated data warehouses, that's motivated visualization tools, BI tools. So IT has a lot of experience in terms of understanding where these sources are and integrating it for BI purposes. Marketing, on the other hand, has a different driver. Certainly they're a beneficiary of a lot of the business intelligence work and the reports, but driving better outcomes in marketing requires the type of customer data management that we're talking about. And it's often a lot more difficult and very different from integrating for BI purposes. I mean, just the four things I mentioned, right? The fact that, A, you're dealing with big data, especially when you start to combine all of this. B, you need to get you're doing advanced analytics. You need complete access to it in real time. BI is often a reporting or a dashboard type thing. And then, finally, you need to integrate this in your existing marketing channels. You need APIs, not just to get it in, but then to get it out. So there's some technical challenges in doing that. I'm glad you mentioned on the last one about the matching or the deduping, because that's also, a key challenge as well. The other thing I would say is that IT is not particularly used to dealing with unstructured sources or external sources. And increasingly, that fine view of an individual customer is so enriched by external sources, many of them unstructured. And so IT sometimes doesn't have the technology, the platforms to bring that in as well.
Brilliant. Okay. Thanks, Mike. We've got one question here, which actually I think would be good to pose to both of you. The question is, what about data privacy? And this is usually, if it's not the first question that customers ask us, it's the second or third. So maybe Gordon, if you could go first and just talk about how we address data privacy as Innometrics.
Sure, Andy. And I think this is in two aspects, data privacy. The first relates to cookies, really, in terms of anonymous data. It's up to the visitor themselves to accept cookies or not accept cookies. So the data that we pull in on an online perspective, that is compliant, controlled by the visitor. When you have a customer who signs up for a order or a membership, then they are also, shall we say, being compliant in terms of accepting the data regulations as to what is stored. And any data that is stored is not Innometrics data, it's the customer's data. So the customer, our client, determines what data is stored in the cloud. So essentially I would say that we store what the client wants us to store, and in that context, if they are wanting us to have encrypted data which is not sensitive, absolutely not a problem, then that is what is put into the cloud. So in these contexts, obviously we would work very closely with the clients in the context to define specifications as to what data is to be put there.
Great, thanks. And Mike, from your perspective, I bet a lot of people ask you about privacy as well.
They do, and I mean the simple, I'll give you a simple short answer, but then I'll add something to that. A, you have to follow the law. Whatever the privacy laws for the country, the region, the locality that you're in, right? So that's essential, and some of the items that Gordon talked about are how you accomplish that. The second thing you have to do is maintain trust with your customers. Another way to say that is not to creep them out, right? Because there's some sensitivity issues about how you use this information. People were probably bristling when I said that, Target predicted that this girl was pregnant, and other predictions. But the reality is that customers are willing to give up more information. We know that there's a desire for them to be treated more like individuals and celebrities, and to do that, you have to give up more information. So companies have to be very sensitive and careful about how customers will feel about these experiences. They clearly want them. And the best advice on that is A/B testing, which is a staple of e-commerce, a staple of marketing. So don't do the big bang on some new experience or new marketing campaign that's hyper-personal. This is what the internet companies do. They put it out there in a small sample and they see what the reaction is. Now the final thing I want to say about that is that, yes, lots of people say that they're concerned about privacy. But remember that social media graph I showed you, which shows the adoption of social media across all age groups? This is not stopping people from using the internet, despite everything we hear. They're sharing more information. They're using social media sites more frequently. and websites more frequently. So in general, while people state there's a concern, if they're getting value for it, they're willing to share their data.
Perfect. Okay. I think with that, we said we'd be 45 minutes. We've run a couple of minutes over. So just to let everybody know, we're going to do another webinar in Q1 next year where we're going to have an actual case study and a customer on to talk about how they're using Profile Cloud and their experiences with things like privacy as well. But I think just on the next slide, we've got contact details. So please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any other questions. As I said, we have recorded this. We'll send out a link to the recording. But other than that, just want to say thank you very much, everyone, for dialing in and listening today. Have a very good afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.